is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning to you. The birds are chirping. Hey now. Good morning to you. The birds are chirping.
You could try and take us, but with the gladiators, everyone reach you, but secretly the savior. Glory and gore go hand in hand. That's why we're making headlines.
The Eye Opener.
And I'ma get it. Oh, I know what I'm doing. Patience and I know what I'm doing, baby. Staring at it, I know what I'm doing. Staring at a gladiator, talking about a revolution. No, this is not a game. No, baby.
And good morning, good morning, good morning. When I was a kid, there was a guy who used to come on the radio. I think I was in preschool. I used to go to St. Michael's preschool. That would have been in like 1998, 1997. One of them. It was this dude that came on every morning. My mom would drop me to preschool. I'd never forget his voice. He would just say, good morning, 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 get up, get up, get up, Bahamas. And it's like, I knew that I was going to preschool. Mm-hmm. Every time I heard that, I was like, oh, I'm going back to this place. I don't know why my young brain didn't catch on that, hey, I'm in a school uniform. Right. Therefore, but sometimes things happen and I went back home. I don't know. You know, when you're, is that technically a toddler? How old was preschool a toddler?
Pretty much.
He was a little chilling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was young and getting a bunch of vaccines and shots.
Oh, shoot.
Can't sit down properly because I don't know if they still do it. Probably giving the arms now. I don't know. Anyway, good morning. Welcome to the Eye Opener, your weekly dose of something absolutely spankadociously different. It has been a absolutely, I don't know, just news of the wazoo all over the world. We have a new variant of COVID just when you thought you had it all figured out. South Africa releases its latest development. What is it called? The Omicron?
Omicron.
I see they making them. These are like hurricanes now. We gotta retire these names after this. You can't ever use no virus. We have Alpha and Delta.
Right.
And what's the one was killing? It was the Delta variant.
Lambda or something. Yeah, Delta.
He did have a Lambda variant.
Lambda, yeah.
So we just go in down the alphabet, and then after that we can start calling people name. You know. Yes, but it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Saturday morning. I think it rained for a short, depending on where you are in the island of New Providence, if you're listening in New Providence, it did rain for a bit in the capital of the Bahamas on this beautiful Saturday morning. What's today's date? Today is the 27th, the 27th of November. Mm-hmm. We are almost out. We on hurricane season yet? Because I feel like hurricane season is like whenever the hurricanes stop to like whenever it starts.
That's true.
Because we've had hurricanes in December before.
I think it's the 31st something, eh?
We almost out.
We almost out,
We were first to 31st. Yeah. One of them. We almost out of the whatever they say. Even though Death Valley for us, for hurricanes, is like August, September.
Right.
That's when you need to make sure your roof get patched up and tell your neighbors stop hopping the fence if you can help. But yes, it is a very fascinating week this week, Tate. How's your week been?
My week has been pretty okay. It's always been a blur. I don't remember anything from it most of the time. But there was some key significant moments.
Oh, what's this? What's going on?
I mean, basically school, I got a good number of stuff done.
Okay.
And so I'm thankful for that. In the last few weeks, I haven't been very productive. But I think I'm doing better on that end now.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat as you. I wouldn't say it was a blur. I was actually... You know when you got too many things to do, right, during the weekend, and you think to yourself, probably every adult goes through this, you want to duplicate yourself and say, if I could just do that, I would be so successful. And you realize, I have to admit, right, and it's something I made a New Year's resolution about like 2 or 3 years ago. I have to admit when I screwing up, right? And I know my time management has been sometimes really good, and then other times absolutely deplorable. And as a result of that, like you feel like you're so overwhelmed by things because you're not managing your time properly. You're procrastinating, doing all these things. So yeah, I'm biting a lot of bullets, getting things done. So I know the feeling, Tate. But yeah, we had an absolutely fascinating week. We had an interesting turn of events in politics. I think my prognosis. I could use big words now, you know. prognosis. How much syllables that is? With 4. Anyway, whatever. Three.
Three or four. Run a number.
One of them. I tied hooked on phonics. Anyway, like I was saying, yeah, my prognosis is probably things are looking worse for one particular party than the other. Probably worse than it looked 4.5 years ago for someone who lost in the worst parliamentary defeat in this country. Which, we'll see what happens. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But we also had an interesting story. I don't know how true. They say Beetlejuice 3 times and there's a pay, but I ain't calling him. We had a politician. He ran in the last general election. Was involved in the story of little Bella, the little girl who unfortunately met her demise at the hands of a creature, an animal. Accused. At least the person's accused. I didn't call anybody's name.
Allegedly.
All right. Allegedly, yes.
Yeah, let's use that term.
Yeah, but what it highlighted, it started this conversation, this whole thing. At least I've been reading. Now, I don't know if it's true. I'm not here to cast any aspersions on the family or anything of the sort. But something that was highlighted is this issue of children and who is the parent of the child. If the mother is unwed or the father is wed, or whether the child was had in wedlock or not, and the issues surrounding custody of the child and the rights of parents. Again, I'm not focusing on the story with the family. I don't know the facts there. There's a lot of hearsay. I'm not getting in that. But I'm just saying, this one thing that was highlighted, I saw a lot of testimonies of folks, fathers talking about they had various strange relationships with the mother of the child. I think 100% of these cases of people talking about it, who were testifying and telling their stories, they weren't married to the mother of their children or their child. Lots of fathers had to adopt their children, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. And a guy said that he signed for his kid. He had a good relationship at first with the mother. Things didn't work out. She passed away. And it was like a whole thing with the mother's side of the family and the father trying to get custody of his child. And I was blown away because I wasn't aware of how problematic this whole scenario was. And something that I just kept thinking about is like, wow, we really did have an opportunity to solve this problem, at least a major part of it, but we didn't. In the referendum, it kind of dealt with a part of this, right? And I haven't seen any discussion being brought back up about readdressing this, right? Because it's still an issue and it's going to be an issue moving forward. But, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I'm just saying, I had no idea how bad this was. I think we even had we had a men's conference. I think University of the Bahamas put on something, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they had the late Terrence Bethel from a presentation he did in 2009, and I watched it. And he was talking about the issues of fathers and basically access to their children. If they have a child and they're not married to the mother at the time of the child's birth. And the plethora of issues and circumstances that can make it extraordinarily frustrating in this country. And I'm being honest, man, like, I would think we'd fix this kind of problem by now, but we just haven't. And so when I saw this story come out surrounding this whole case that happened, I was speechless. I had no commentary to say anything on it. Certain people were getting upset and saying, well, that's not supposed to be, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, ooh, we kind of sometimes, I think, revel in dysfunction too long. And you start to think dysfunction is function, but it's not.
So I think it kind of brings up the question of, whether if we care to go through another referendum or care to reform and revise the law, I think it's a good question of whether if we go through the same process as we did in 2016, will the results be the same?
Oh, no, I think the referendum will fail. I don't think the current administration has the political capital to pull off a referendum. To be fair, the best time for them to do that is within the first 2.5 years of their term. Because after that, it's downhill.
Yeah, 2023 maybe, or 2022.
It need to be by the middle of 2023 the latest, because after that, it's going to go downhill.
But I think it's interesting because I know that the AG was talking about how they're going to bring in marijuana legislation in Q1 of 2022. So I don't know. Maybe they're taking their strides very slowly.
Well, they still need to appoint all their boards yet,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
When is the date for the boards? December 10th or something? They said they're going to get majority of the boards. We'll see. I'm very skeptical about marijuana legislation. I have
That bill that the FNM introduced is very bad.
I'm skeptical about all of them. And I say this simply because just looking at that also came with this week, right? The whole story surrounding RCI, the Royal Caribbean situation on Paradise Island. Now, we've had Toby Smith, the Bahamian citizen who, I don't say supposedly, quite literally, has some claim to some of the land.
I think 3 to 7 acres there.
Yes.
Like that. Yeah.
3.5 or something like that. We had him on the show. We talked about the situation. A lot of people supported him. We support him. A lot of people don't support him. But we're not taking up a side. Well, I've taken up a side on this. I'm not very pro RCI. And after seeing that deal, which is what an 150-year lease on not
It even be.
all us can be dead. Even the people who originally do the Hawksbill Creek Agreement still living.
right.
These fellas dead. They didn't cash out.
Yeah.
Right? So here's my thing on this, right? That deal's terrible.
Yeah.
Just listening to not listening, just reading the parts about the projected tax revenue for the first 25 years, which I think was around somewhat about $650 million. Now that sounds like a lot of money, right?
It's not.
When you divide that, let's say it ain't gonna be evenly split for 25 years, but let's do that for the sake of math. When you evenly split that bad boy up, that ain't that much money out into tax revenue as you would think it is.
I think VAT makes that about a year and a half. Alone.
Right.
That makes no sense at
This
all.
25 years,
Yeah.
right? So I thought about that, and I was like, if you really do the math on this, if they're going to make their money back probably within the first 5 to 7 years. They're going to make all their money back. If these projections that I saw within that report are true, $140,000 a year they pay the government to lease the land, and they also lease in seabed. We talked about this too with Toby. Also, too, they every 25 years is supposed to renew. And you know that's going to happen every 25 years because when you see the last 5 years and that lease start to come up, they're going to do an aggressive PR campaign. They're going to lobby government super hard and talk about all the jobs they provide. And if they shut this down, how it'll basically hurt the Bahamian economy and how it'll cut government tax revenue. The government's going to be like, well, we got to keep these people going in. And they're going to threaten, like, oh, if we don't get this, we pull out of the country. They're going to basically do a bit of what Disney did.
Yeah, pretty much using your leverage
Boom.
and forcing the hand of the government. And I think what has come to my understanding is that they're now trying to bring the Grand Lucayan into the deal to use.
I thought that was always a part of the deal, which is why
But
the
apparently it
F&M... Then well, I can't use that wording. We can call him Voldemort, right? I don't want to call him my name no more. Like I disgusted I am with Voldemort and heavy gum. Anyway, but A is B and B is B. I despise this deal. I think this cements. This is my opinion. I think it actually sets a even worse precedent in this country than we would think, because it then means that not only is the F&M going to side 100% of the time with a foreign entity over a Bahamian, right? Because the same thing happened in South Eleuthera. Disney, their proposal, one Eleuthera also submitted a proposal. When they talked about sustainable tourism, more domestic, not just domestic tourism, but like more locally owned and participatory tourism. Government said no. Toby proposed something not exactly the same, but very similar in structure how it operates, where it's locals. Where they're going to be the ones engaging in commerce on that project. And they also rejected that, right? In spectacular fashion, considering that this then signed from May. And remember all this drama that was happening right up to the election with this, and then making statements about with Toby ungrateful, all these different types of things. Kind of similar to the previous, before Carl Bethel being AG, the previous AG, who go in front of the media and talk to all these unions, and she knows she didn't know the case. You know why? Because they're gangster. Gangster. So it is what it is, right? We just peons and poor people and peasants, and the gangsters run things around. Yeah,
Pretty much.
but no, it's. I think it just not just cements. It just means moving forward. Usually, when people come here to negotiate for something, we then set so many horrible precedents. It's gonna be. It makes it even more difficult for the government to ever negotiate things from a position of. I don't even just say power authority. Just being equal.
Yeah.
It's like. I actually don't know. I think it was that from just reading the report. It seemed like that deal was made out of desperation, beyond desperation. I wouldn't have done it. Being very frank, I don't think it made any sense.
And so I think it also brings it to the question of when it comes to deals like this and leveraging, what do we have to leverage? Honestly,
You're back. That's what we leverage. We lay on that. You turn over sometimes. Sometimes you roll on your side. I'm being real. That's how I feel. That's how I feel as a Bahamian. I
that's a fair
feel
point.
like can't say that. I feel robbed. We should all feel robbed of our innocence as we get pimped out consistently from the powers that be. Even the Bahama deal, man. Oh God. I don't care how you try to squash that. I think Bahamians have largely that's left a lot of the Bahamian psyche. Because remember that was a major political issue for that 2017 election, and the Voldemort making what I thought at the time was incredibly outrageous and reckless statements about he's going to sell Bahamar when he becomes prime minister, and then that ominous photograph and video of Sarkis Ismailian sitting in the crowd. When they were all being sworn in.
Oh.
You remember that, right? Just he didn't say anything to anybody.
Right.
Mouth closed. And he just looking on it. It was just like, it's like those pictures where you see like a haunted movie. And like in every picture, if you look close, you see a ghost in the background. That was Sarkis in most of those photos. And I was like, they got to get this money. Things. Oh, I thought they were going to sell him to Grand Lucayan. But I don't know. Didn't work out. I don't know. Apparently, we got some things on the back burner for that. For the current administration, which I'm hoping they get rid of that. It was an extraordinarily stupid idea to buy that property, and then have to pay all those people out on the property, and now we gotta pay to maintain and upkeep. It's gonna be a loss, a multi-million-dollar loss. Plus, we borrowed money from Hutchison Whampoa to buy it.
Yeah.
How gangsta is that? You pay us $25 million up front. We'll give you the rest of the money through financing, and you pay us back, probably with interest. That's gangsta.
And I think in instances like these, looking at the RCI deal as well as the Grand Lucayan deal, I think we're beginning to see the forming of, I don't even know if we can say that, but like the forming of somewhat of understanding what are the core values of the two different parties. You think people are beginning to see that, or they're still like conservative, died conservative?
I think I wouldn't even say the core values. All right, I would say for the last administration led by Voldemort, yes, yeah, I think a lot of the core values came out in the end. That it wasn't just pro big business. It was actually, I can't even say that, because successive administrations have made some poor choices in how to negotiate things. But I think the red folks. I don't know. They just have this thing with selling things for pennies. Because remember, we also sold BTC for pennies. That was just a brilliant idea. That one. Really stellar job there. But sure, right? I don't know. I can't recall in recent memory within the last 25 years of the gold people necessarily offloading lots of assets. I think what tends to happen under their administrations is a lot of bureaucracy gets bloated. A lot of public spending tends to shoot up, right? Lots of people say, but in actuality, every new administration, public spending shoots up. We have not seen big cuts in our budgets for like 20 years. The budget is only been going up. Revenue has steadily increased, but it has obviously every single year been outmatched and outpaced by the increasing in expenditure. And you're going to see that again in this administration. I will wager with you, Tate. You would be very fortunate if the Bahamas doesn't hit $14 billion in debt by 2025. I'm just saying, what are we at now? 11 point something?
We're 11 point something right now.
You're going to hit 14. You're going to pass 14.
Thinking about this, I always ask the question: how do we manage before VAT? like how do we manage before VAT?
Customs. Customs is outrageous. Sometimes you buy a washing machine, it's 150%.
Are you serious?
Oh, I dead serious. I am so serious. Customs was so. That's why one of the things where people used to want to have these close relationships with MPs would be because you get them exemptions, King.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you know somebody who could put the little thing on a trailer. Remember, the former head of the Chamber of Commerce,
Right.
the whole situation, we're bringing in all import and
Right.
think I'm not paying no tax. There was I can't talk about that. Wasn't in the public record. I can't talk about that one. But there were persons, high figure persons in the Bahamian society, who were bringing in vehicles for themselves and their friends. This is also documented to have happened many times. They bring it on a trailer, and they clear the trailer and get their paperwork for one car straight, and they know somebody who waking up little place, get the little title, figure out, you see, and then they say, whoops, sold. That's it. So yeah, that's how it was done. Customs was king, and obviously it made Bahamians wanting to leave the country and buy things even more attractive. And they reduced customs, obviously, for value-added tax. But certain things have gone up, even then. And I think owning a car has actually gotten more expensive, which is why most of the cars come from Japan, because it's too expensive. Unless you want to pay virtually 80% to import a brand new car from the United States. Yeah, you go to a dealership then, and then I can't say that. You know what? I'm tired of being censored. A dealership. Okay? Good to buy cars from that are new. Don't service your car. Right? If you need something that needs a factory repair, sure. Especially if it's covered under warranty. Do we even do those in this country? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I haven't heard it because I was curious about that, right? Because even with my car, they had a bulletin that went out a few years ago about a faulty plastic part. Well, I mean, those Germans, everything is be plastic with them. Anyway, everything plastic that is. But there's a faulty plastic part that caused something to leak and then caused a little bit of smoke. I think it was for the windshield. The reservoir would crack because they use a cheap plastic and then the heat from that would cause it to crack. It's not an expensive fix, but they had a bulletin that they were supposed to cover the cost of these things. The manufacturer would, and you take your car into a dealership, blah 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 blah. No, that wasn't a thing. So I was like, all right, cool, just don't bother. But I know persons in the States who literally just took the cars, even if it was secondhand, they took the car in because it was a bulletin on a recall, and they would change the part out for another part. But it doesn't happen here. So I don't know. Certain things you get, I guess, to be benefits, but then depending on the brand, certain cars are supposed to come from certain places, but they don't. Like I had a coworker once upon a time who had a Honda. What did they call it now?
Civic?
It was a Civic or what the next one is, dude? Accord.
Accord, something like that.
One of them. It was a Civic or an Accord. Left-hand drive. She purchased it from a dealer. Again, I ain't trying to throw shade on nobody, but it was the dealer. Here. And a part had gone bad, and her mechanic said, you need to order this part. And she was just like, well, great, I'll just go on Amazon because they bought the car from the States. She couldn't match the VIN number, but she matched the year and everything to the car, ordered the part. Mechanic went to repair it and said, this part don't fit. Then she said, fine, I'll got a refund from Amazon, went to the dealer and was just like, why is this part not fitting? And it turns out the car actually didn't come from the United States. It came from Singapore. Yeah, because they drive on the left. So they drive on the right. So it was a left-hand drive car.
Okay.
So it probably a lot of that's been happening.
Okay.
So I don't even know, man. I don't know what you're getting. So I can't tell you unless you can trace. You have to trace by VIN number where these cars come from because you can't listen to what people tell you or make assumptions.
So I think what we're seeing here in the last 20 years is that successive governments have been pretty much just kicking the can down the street. right? And there have been
of having to slash budgets.
slash budgets and not being proactive. But I don't know. When it comes to the public service and when it comes to like wages and employees, because that's one of the biggest things that takes up expenditure in the budget, I kind of like what Pierre Glover is doing. Oh, they're not cutting back, but I think it's good that they're making use of the resources that they have, right? And so they're supposed to be training more people, like putting a moratorium on hiring, and just trying to make sure that persons are, in a sense, trained. So I'm thankful for that. But
What's training though? What is training? What is that? All right, I'm not criticizing the plan, right? I haven't seen the results. I have a feeling a few years down the road, if I'm still alive, I'll be on air somewhere criticizing it, right? But I'll say this. I think the solution to the public service is, and I can get Chopper for this, but that's fine, is to fire.
I think so too.
And I don't mean just fire everybody. I think the public service should be one of the highest paid places in the country. Having a job within the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, should be a high-paying job, period. You should be leaders in your field, experts, as a matter of fact. You need to have research departments in most of these government agencies. I know the Ministry of Education definitely does. I know the research goes right out of the hands of the researchers and into a filing cabinet for the rest of eternity. Sometimes it goes in the trash. But yeah, no, I fervently believe that. And I say that simply because we're not in a position where we can expand the size of the civil service. I don't think we need to.
No.
I think that sounds terrible. You need to slash.
Phase them out. Something. Get rid of
You have
that.
to you have to slash, and you have to get in a position where you automate a lot of things. Where you need far. I love the fact that My Gateway seems to be getting more and more people on board. NHI, I love the fact that that's also partially automated, mostly automated, I think. Extraordinarily effective. I have like friends who have like private insurance who recently got on. It's just like, I can't afford to pay this insurance forever. It's just like, you technically are paying for public insurance, right? Because you pay taxes and such.
Right.
So I think that is the absolute way forward, is to minimize the human footprint, but at the same time maximize the effectiveness and efficiency and efficacy of the civil service, which unfortunately means you have to retire
a lot of people.
Yes. I think you need not just a restructuring, you need to change the model that some places operate. Like, for instance, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, that needs some changes. It has to update. Now, I am not a person that actually believes that it should be shut down. I don't. And I simply say that because they service the entire country. So not just in the event of a storm. If you leave Nassau, a lot of things you don't get. A lot of the news is exceptionally New Providence-centric, and a lot of things happen on the Family Islands. And it's a service that's provided, right? It's a public good. And I think it should move more in the direction of being a public good. Like, once upon a time, when you think we used to have public access TV once upon a time, right? I know, right? Crazy. I think we got to go back in that direction. Things need to be more accessible to Bahamians. Again, that's a whole other conversation. They have a new board, supposedly. Picewell Forbes is back. But the next thing, I think, Bahamas Air. Bahamas Air doesn't make any sense to me. And I say that because it operates like a budget airline. Like how it functions with you as a consumer buying this, using the service of Bahamas Air. Again, I'm not a proponent of getting rid of Bahamas Air either. And I simply say that because Bahamas Air is a public good. It's
EPP?
tell you about that in a minute.
Okay.
And I say that because we no longer have Sky Bahamas, right?
Because of certain
I was
things.
so listen when they got them jets. I was so proud. Like every time I see them on the tarmac, I felt pride in my heart. I was like, "Wow, Bahamians could do this."
Right.
Like people who look like me could accomplish things like this.
Right.
Like this, is my country, and then obviously it just went the way that it did. That really hurt me when I saw that happen. But fine, I'm saying that because Bahamas Air does service Family Islands in the event of an emergency or whatever. I think we should have a national flag carrier. I think something is wrong. A lot is wrong with the way that institution has functioned historically from its inception until now. I do not think Bahamas Air should be gutted. Well, I'm going to kind of do. I don't think it should be destroyed. I think it's something that should be a public-private partnership. I think 51% should be sold to a private entity that's probably has to be Bahamian owned, or a certain percentage of that has to be Bahamian owned. We have some people who I think could bankroll it. We could raise some public funds for that, right?
That's true.
An airline isn't a cheap venture to be in. I think the government should have some say, just like how they kind of function with appointing people to the board at BTC. I think it should be similar with Bahamas Air. I don't think they should have majority stake. Obviously, they wouldn't, because they have 49%. They wouldn't have majority stake on the board, but you'd have some say. But I think the government is incapable of running that, period. Government sucks. It doesn't always suck. It just sucks because it's abused. Especially the buddy pass system they got. Like, oh, you don't know what that is?
Buddy pass system? What is that?
Let's say you know somebody there, right? Or you work there. You get, I think they phase a lot of that out. But what used to happen is they'd give you, like, let's say 5 buddy passes. So if you're catching a flight, you could give a friend a ticket for free. A lot of politicians abuse this, right? A lot of persons were close to persons in Bahamas. And I'm saying this not because I'm guessing around this. I knew people that did it, right? And that's how I found it. But I was just like, yeah, man, I got a buddy pass. I get him. It's like, what is this thing? And then they explained it to me. And I was like, how are y'all turning a profit? Every seat is money that you ain't getting. Right, even if the seat empty, I'd rather the seat be empty than you get free flights. I know, for instance, I think we had a conference. I had a conference I had to go to, I think, right before the pandemic started in Freeport. And they'd overbooked the entire flight. So I think they'd booked it 10 more seats than they actually could put people on the plane. And at the time, the deputy prime minister was also coming. So, like, they took someone off the plane.
Right.
Well, it wasn't on the plane yet. Let me not disparage anybody. Someone was removed from the flight, right? And your boy get the thing. Yeah. And I asked about it, and I was like, I criticize anyways. Like, is this a normal thing? And it's like, yeah. So the way that, again, I think it should function somewhat to move parliamentarians around. But at the same time, I also believe the entire structure of it needs to change. Now, we do have a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, my brothers, my fellow Bahamians. How are you all?
Morning.
Listen, very interesting conversation. I am in full agreement with some of the sentiments that you have expressed earlier. I believe that Bahamas Air should not be privatized.
Okay.
I'm one of those proud Bahamians that believe that our people can actually be successful in operating and managing some of the national assets that requires that, that professionalism. And Bahamas Air happens to be one of them. Yes, I agree. According to what I've heard sources say, that the airline has not been profitable for quite some time. I believe that if we should do a PPP, allow the private partner to, especially if they have airline management skills and operations, allow them to operate it on behalf of the Bahamas government, give them a certain amount of assets, let them pump their money into it, which means that the government does not have to pump so much money into the airline, and let's turn this airline around. We have professionals here. We have people who can get the job done. Remove the politics really out of it. Allow the airline to operate as an airline. For too many times in closing that we have allowed, for instance, you hold the airliner for one person, one prominent person, because that person is late. No, that should stop.
Yep.
And if the airline is able to lift off the ground on time, the first flight, and no, a lot of Bahamians know this for a fact.
Yep.
The first flight always tends to lift off on time. You can tell me every other flight subsequent to that or after that flight is not operating on time. No, we have to stop the nonsense. So this thing here, we can fix it. Let's fix it, Bahamians, and just let's do what we need to do to make the airline profitable.
Would you support selling 51% of it to a Bahamian, let's say a Bahamian financing group, but it has to be Bahamians? Would you support that?
I believe that if it's when I say conglomerate, average Bahamians who are willing to pump their monies into making something happen, with the aspect of the government also pumping X amount in. In other words, make the Bahamians shareholders of their.
Agreed.
I think he got cut off there.
I didn't do anything.
Private partnership,
Oh, he's still there.
public-private partnership. If we were able to do that, we may be able to get not just the pride of the people through a national asset, but we will also get the interest of the Bahamian people finally
so.
to put their feet forward, put their monies forward, and let's invest into something that they can actually have residual income for them and their families as long as the airline is in operation.
We on the same page?
And that's how I see it. I am sick and tired of these persons who you put in charge, these politicians and their cronies, and I'm sorry to put it like that, who try to operate these airlines. First and foremost, I'm not knocking them for not having the knowledge to do it, because some people do have some of the knowledge, some knowledge on how to operate, perhaps from a business aspect. But let's get the real professionals with the airlines. Let's couple them with these people, and let's create a new paradigm shift. I believe our people can do it. I believe in our people. I know we can do it, but are the opportunities really afforded to the average Bahamian to step forward and show their Bahamian pride?
Thank you very much, caller.
Okay.
I can't disagree with anything he said. Anything. We on the same page?
Right.
I really wish we were in a space where, let me be unfiltered for a second, right? I agree with him with the issues with the cronies. I actually don't think you should be appointed to essentially any board, any position, if you do not have intimate knowledge, one, of that business. You have no expertise, no experience. You haven't even studied. You don't have any education in the thing. I don't think you should be there.
Right.
And that goes from... See, man, I just have to censor myself. I can't see. That goes, let's say, to a lot of appointments. Again, I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody
Fair enough,
at
fair
this
enough.
time. I'm
Fair
just
enough.
saying. Like, yeah, it's kind of like when people say you could be a parliamentarian. Oh, sorry, a cabinet minister and don't know anything about the ministry you're in, because the permanent secretary can do everything for you. But anyway, I've heard that argument, Tate. But hey, everybody has an opinion, right? I think you should have some expertise, because if not, you end up with a niche rule. That ain't ever a good thing, right? Because then your face all over the medals.
It's all over the medals.
People complaining about the Christmas tree.
They build a new house and stuff.
And then they shuffling you around to different cabinet positions. Oh, Lord. Something I never understood, though, like completely off topic of this one.
Right.
But something I never understood is, I understand it, but something that it just boggles my mind that is played over and over again and it seems to always work, is this thing about persons building a home or buy a new car or doing this or doing that. It's as if you're supposed to be broke and you're not supposed to have anything. Because they remember now, and again, I'm not taking up sides for Voldemort and that crew. Some of the persons within that crew, I agreed with some of the decisions they made. I didn't agree with everybody, obviously, and any administration. Remember, they said the same things about Christie, right? Said that Christie was building a condominium complex. He doing this, and the thing crossed the roads from me house. That's he big thing is he put millions of dollars into this, and he went and he addressed this in the public, and that led to the whole middle finger incident. Because he just got tired. He got outraged by it because it happens every cycle.
He did himself in, man. His response to all of that could have been better, but
I actually, in hindsight, looking back at Christie's tenure, I don't think Christie was as bad as people gave him a rap for.
at the time, with
I think his leadership style wasn't
Yeah.
suitable for his cabinet. Because it's from the public perception, even in hindsight, it seems like he really did lose a handle on his cabinet. He never shuffled. I don't think he's as bad as people said he was at the time. But he had his own problems. He had his own issues. But hey, history will judge. I don't think history's going to be kind to Voldemort.
Oh no!
I think he's going to go down as the worst.
He burst a hole into Perry's into Perry's corruption thing. He burst a whole hole.
Oh my God! Water and sewage.
The pandemic just really
Bro,
If one insurance could survive,
how does that happen? Oh man, if someone could explain that one to me. I mean, I know what happened, but like, how does that happen? And your party does nothing about that situation. Like, how do you operate a government agency without anybody controlling the finances? What are you doing? Anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Jesus Christ. Yeah, like we said, they blaze a hole in that.
yeah,
That ain't never coming back.
they coming back.
I know. I actually think the FNM is probably in a worse situation now than the PLP was after Christie and everybody else had lost their seats. They may have more seats in the House, but the reputation of the party is irreparably damaged. Just, and I'm being fair, PLP's reputation was also irreparably, is that the word? Whatever. It's been damaged. It is still damaged and tarnished. Doesn't mean that you're unelectable, obviously,
Right.
as history has shown us what political parties are, but it just means it's going to be that much more difficult because you voice open so much people trust. But we'll see. And the damaging part of this isn't so much to the party, the real damage is done to the institution that we call the Bahamian government, and the trust in those institutions is always eroded when these sorts of things happen. But oh Lord. Someone sent in a text. Oh yes, the text lines. You also can text us in at 422-GR96. That's 422-GR96. Tate, you got a text?
No, I said check your phone. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I'm going to check that in a moment. Someone... restriction. Okay, sure, I'll read it out. I don't know if the person's upset. Or they may just have put everything in caps. But I'll read it off Texter. It says, good morning, gentlemen. I just heard the word update used a little earlier. I'm not saying that update is the wrong thing to say. You might want to use a stronger word like restructuring is said. Companies and especially banks go through restructuring process all the time. Yes, they cut back. In the process, some jobs will be lost. Those persons who have been working for government, say over 30 to 40 years, too, should retire for younger persons coming on. You know what's actually a problem, Texter, too? Is that a lot of the time ways people get promotions is when somebody dies. That's nonsense. Even on the police force, I've been told from persons, actually, that's not a problem. I know persons who are on the defense force who got promotions a year ago and still didn't get paid for the promotion. So we got plenty back pay.
So it's been like an honorary title, essentially.
No, I mean, this isn't the first time this has ever happened, but it happened. They got a promotion, but they still didn't get paid. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. That is another time bomb for the government to pay for. That's always the thing. Remember, nurses need back pay too.
That's true.
It's a lot of things. Anyway, I think restructuring is the right word. We have another caller. You can call in just like this person in at 323-6232 or 325-4316. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
A pleasant good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, good morning.
All is well, all is well.
The Sparky.
Yeah, it's Sparky.
Sparky, what's happening?
Man, you know something? I keep saying this. Thank God I've watched this government in this country that I call the Commonwealth of the Bahamas go through. At a 22-year-old, I'm 70 now, and I was 22 when I watched that flag rise on the Western Fort. We call it the Western Fort. So I'll call it Fort Charlotte. Whatever. I watched this country go through Mr. Pinland, Mr. Ingram, Mr. Christie, Mr. Minnis, and what happened during Mr. Minnis' time and Mr. Christie's last time.
Yep.
But, I really think, and we've watched this country go through Darian, other hurricanes in my lifetime. I watched New Providence change from a bustling, beautiful little island from Montague Beach Hotel straight down to Life at Key, nightclubs, stores opening in the night, nightclubs every night except maybe Monday night when bands took the night off, bands and entertainment in all the hotels to absolutely nothing. I watched Bay Street turn from a doggone bustling city, what we call Nassau. People call the island Nassau, but realize that Nassau is only between Nassau Street and Meakin Street, Blue Hill Road, underneath St. Gregory's Arch, up Shirley Street to the corner Church Street by St. Matthews. That is the city of Nassau. That changed from a city, bustling day and night, Junkanoo, Christmas and New Year's, to a ghost town.
Yep.
I've watched over the other, we call over the hill, people thought only over East Street was the hill. But anytime south of the ridge, north from Vinton down to Lyford Key is over the hill. And I watched over the hill turn into the city where Carmichael Road is now be called City 2000.
Yep. Carmichael Road.
Where all the businessmen would have Bay Street, left Bay Street, and all of them, including AZ, Pitches, Dalbinos, and all of them, move over the hill where the over the hill people are. The only people they move over the hill is the white people. You don't see white people south of Wolf Road. You don't see white people. White people, they inhabit the whole north side of the new island of New Providence. All the marinas, all the Bay Street area, where the properties now are they are ghost towns. The Stop and Shop and all of them, they should dilapidate all of them. And that's where the cruise ships come in and our tourists walk up and down and they see empty old burn out buildings on Bay Street.
Yep.
They don't even come, the taxi drivers don't even bring the tourists over the hill to shop on Carmichael Road. Only the Bahamian people down there. But you know, after Darien and all of those things, I think that our present Prime Minister, Mr. Philip Edward Brave Davis, who I went to school with, Eastern Junior, Eastern Senior, and everything, I think he has the opportunity, after watching 4 prime ministers go before him, to relax and sit back and turn this country into the most beautiful little country in the world. If we, the only Bahamians, stop talking this red shirt and this yellow shirt and this green shirt, and we as a country get together and back our prime minister and get this country back and really celebrate a new day and stop every day on these talk shows talking about the past administrations. They have passed. They have gone.
But Sparky, you gotta admit, the things that happened in the past will always affect us in the future.
Yeah, but we seem to be bended so much on the past. We're not talking about today and what we gonna do, what we gonna build as a unit. Like then I listened to Pintar talking about regenerating the F&M. He's talking about reuniting the F&M and getting it together as a unit. We in the country got to get together as a country, as a unit. We need to stop talking about the immigration problem and abide by the law. If you come in my country illegally, we shouldn't be debating this in the court. What we got a law in place. If you come in here illegally, we don't care if you've been here for 18 years illegally, you got to go. This is a Bahamian country. This is our country. Like Donald Trump said, America first, Bahamians first. If you're here illegally, I don't care if you're French, German, Haitians, Jamaican, go home. Come back the right way. The way we travel, we go to the airport, we show our passport with the immigration officer say, don't cross that line until you go cross. Because when you cross that yellow line at the airport, you are actually in America. You just walk into the plane. You're in America. We need to stop talking about enforce the law. Send them back home. All of them. Break down the shanty towns. Stop this law.
You gotta change the law. In order to do that, you gotta change the law.
It's against the law for you to be here illegally.
You gotta understand, Sparky. The same situation happened in Albuquerque, and that's a moratorium on tearing down any shanty towns in Albuquerque at the moment.
Right.
They can't do anything. If we want to address that situation, I think one, you gotta wait till we see what happens with this.
All that is lawyers and things. All we doing is paying lawyers and QCs from abroad to come in here to fight our law, and we pay them. At the end of the day, what happened? More illegal people keep coming because we can't send them back home. We playing with the law. The law is there. Let's abide by the law and do what we got to do. Finish with that. Have a good day. It's a new day.
Bring it on, Bram. I think some laws got to change. I think a lot of things have to change, and I think this administration does have an exceptionally golden opportunity. You know why? Because all of the things that the last one fumbled,
they are sitting on a bunch of
easy wins. And I'll say this:
so
if they wanna actually break the curse of losing an election after one term and actually be a 2-term government, complete the legislative agenda, not just of Voldemort and his crew, Christie them too.
Exactly.
Because Christie had a lot of good things on the table that
Yep.
never came to fruition.
Constitutional Commission report, a lot of good stuff in that as well. They are sitting on a bunch of.
We can
data
talk with that in a
research.
minute. We can talk with it right in a minute. We have another caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
How you doing, sir? You all right?
Absolutely excellent. How are you, caller?
How you doing? You have a good show, no?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, just the one you all bad, not the you all bad. Listen to me carefully. I can talk and make it is, right? And I ain't insult somebody, right? Now, if you was mixed up in a modifier plot, Michael Pentat should be the last person to run for leadership in this country. Now, Michael Pentat had to resign as leader of the FM chairman. True or false?
You said, was he made to resign?
No. Michael
did resign.
Pentat had to resign.
Yeah, he-
I got and Louis Baker.
Yes, he did. He did resign from that position. That is true. That
No.
did happen, yes.
No, listen, no. I talk facts now. See, people tend to forget. I deal with reality. No, do you realize right now, Marvin James gave out a contract to one of the people who had COVID-19 and nothing's never done. So let me say right now, the corruption that happened in the FNM should never go. Should never go unforgotten. Never. When you had people like Marvin James and Dwayne Sands, who was condemned, a chief magistrate of the Bahamas, for what they did to Frank Machine Gibson, they never resigned. Then you had Adrian Gibson Steiger. The man gave his fiancée contract.
That story deeper than that.
Yeah.
No, I disagree with you. That's on public
Yeah,
record. But I say in the story with what happened to water sewage is much deeper than that. But continue.
Oh, no, that's me. Trust me. Just David, no. I know the story. That's me. Me and Leslie Miller walked at NASA, no. Remember I was telling you a long time, election ain't gonna be close? Remember I tell you that?
Yeah, you did say that. You did say that, caller.
No,
You did.
Dawn, you should step in the race too, no. Run for politics, man, because you was a good man. But seriously speaking, I'm not knocking nobody, but in this country, we should have standards. When you had to resign as chairman of the FNM, when a cycle will happen, when modify a plot, you won't be leader of this country. Your hair get. Seriously speaking, people bipolar, no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just wanted to say,
So, Don,
no, how it works here. You're right. In theory, those sorts of scandals and stuff should disqualify somebody. But unfortunately, how things work here, if you survive, all you have to do is survive 5 years of not being in office and be the leader of the next party, and it's a good chance to be prime minister.
Don, let's make it done.
Go ahead, man.
I've been on the ground. Me and Leslie Miller been to every home, every area in Nassau. Not every home, every area, right? Listen to me carefully. Women people ain't as dumb as politicians. I think they know. They know everything, you know. See what I'm saying? But say this to me. The lies they talk about, Mr. Davis, was all lies. Remember they say the man can travel? Remember, right?
Yeah, they did say that.
But no, what I'm trying to say, I'm not knocking Michael Flynn that. When you on tape, in a hotel room, giving money to people that lying people, sign affidavits. What's that, though? What's that? I talking facts now. Not talking who you like. So I'm trying to say right now, let's be done. Women people, Cambridge, Bain, Tong, Mountain Lights, these people smarter than people. These people smarter than, and guess what? We think this. These people watch everything and listen to everything. And last and closing, people like Marvin James should be held accountable. Held account for the foolishness they did when he did with the drones. It's unbelievable. Hey, Don, stay tuned. When you have Shane Gibson and Frank Smith, who was locked up, right? Witness saying they will be. What's that though? And then they bring in QCs. Who they paid over $1 million to? For nothing. You see what I'm saying, bro? Like I saying, Don.
I still am on.
Okay, step in the race, okay? All right.
We'll see.
All right, bro. Step in the race. Hey, it's your time now. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, caller. Very, very interesting. Something I want to note about what the caller just said too. The murder for hire plot with Bobo and Toogie was, I think, one of the most incomprehensibly confusing and stupid situations I've seen in this country's political history, and it all stemmed from, people remember too. It stemmed from that situation with Peter Nygaard and Louis Bacon. And I say that because at one point in time, if you people recall, the former prime minister now, Voldemort, said that he bought fish from these gentlemen and ate breakfast or something with them and Johnny Cake and all this nonsense. And it was just the situation with calling the names of, at the time, Prime Minister Perry Christie and Philip Brave Davis in that situation, the tapes that leaked with those gentlemen, the press rounds that made, the international press that we got for that entire situation. All of that was a serious embarrassment. And it just was so ridiculous how those two billionaires, well, I don't know if I don't even know who to point a finger at, right? Especially the situation with Peter Nygaard now facing charges for tons of sexual assault. Also, a situation that case that's going on in the circuit court in New York. I think it was at the time of being filed. 15 women, I think several of them from the Bahamas as well, filing. I think it was a civil lawsuit against the situation. Peter and I got also facing criminal charges in the United States. So, again, it's an ongoing case. I cannot say that the man is or isn't anything, but the case don't look good in his favor. With that being said, I'm going to read one more text that someone sent in. It says, "Oh, this is the texter, Tate, who texted her and say, no, they're not mad. They're using caps just so I can see it better. Just okay. Well, I understand, texter. Perfectly understood. I thought that they were upset. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Oh, this is a quick break. And then we're going to jump right into the juicy part of the discussion, right? Some of those things that some of the callers talked about and some of the things that we said we were going to address. I'll be right back after this. Stay tuned. This is the Eye Opener.
There it is. Wait, find what you love and let it kill you. Sharp under pressure, thick and diamond. All eyes on me like a conductor. That means just play your role, you might get chime in. Wait, play the game to change the game. Word to Gooch, that's my hitter. Your wave is living in the moment, huh? My wave is living, but I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, baby. Say I know what I'm doing. You're talking about a revolution. There it is. Wait.
Helping out each other, family and everybody. It's a simple act of kindness with you, me, and RBC.
RBC wants to spread acts of kindness during this festive season. One simple act of kindness for our friends, co-workers, and communities can cause the brightest smile. Help a stranger, give a food basket, or call an elderly person. Share your stories at facebook.com/RBC Caribbean.
Acts of kindness, RBC.
Janae's Christmas Wonderland is open under the Big Tent. Get 20 to 50% off selected Christmas decorations. Restrictions apply. Trees in pink, frosted green or white in a variety of sizes. LED and laser lights, a large variety of tree ornaments, lighted angels, Santa tree toppers, bright and lively colored Christmas balls, garlands, wreaths, red and white stringed cranberry, tree skirts, stockings, and lots more. Add flowers, picks, and decorative mesh to brighten up your home or office this holiday season. And don't forget the toys at Janae's Chesapeake Road. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Janae's Limited. WhatsApp 817-3295.
Cloth face masks do offer a level of protection against the spread of COVID-19, but only if worn and removed properly and used along with other preventative measures. Your hands should be clean when you put the mask on and when you take it off. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Respiratory droplets from others will stay on the outside of the mask. Do not touch the mask at all once you have it on. Remember, if you touch the front of the mask, the germs will now be on your hands. Remove the mask using the elastic or straps from behind your ears and wash your hands immediately afterwards. If your mask gets dirty or feels damp due to respiratory droplets, change it. Cloth masks should be washed after every use with soap and water. Along with using a face mask, remember to wash your hands regularly. Practice physical distancing 6 feet apart. Avoid touching your face. Disinfect commonly touched objects and surfaces, and stay at home as much as possible. We must each do our part to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
This message brought to you by Bahamas Ministry of Health in conjunction with Guardian Radio.
Wait, find what you love and let it kill you. Sharp under pressure, thick and diamond. All eyes on me like a conductor. That means just play your role.
And welcome back to the Eye Opener, your weekly dose of something absolutely different. I'm just kidding. I do this. This is a stutter. When I was young, I used to stutter. when I was like in grade 1 or 2. Tate. Very
How'd you get out of
strange.
that?
How did I get out of it? Funny story about that. I learned that the thing that was causing me to stutter was like, I don't know if it was a reflex or something in my tongue. So what I would do is I would like eat candy sometimes and have like the candy on the one side of my tongue. So when I was gonna do the stuttering thing with I can't explain it, right? You just feel it when it's about to happen. When I would like, it's like a now later or something. When it would be under there, it would force the tongue movement, and then the thing would come on. Then eventually, I didn't need it anymore.
Okay.
And then everybody's different though. Everybody,
Right.
some people, something is psychological, some people it's a muscle reflex.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, we have a special guest. I guess Tate, you could do the honors and introduce, eh? No, man, you got this, man, Tate. I can see that Tate from Freeport, you know.
So this morning we have in a member of Spectrum Politics. I'm a member of Spectrum Politics myself.
Oh, you in everything?
Pretty much.
You in the Illuminati?
but joining us from Spectrum Politics will be Denzel Bazard, and we're going to talk about a little bit about the Avenue Convention, as well as some recent political stuff dealing with stuff like Loretta Butler Turner. But we want to welcome you, Denzel. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
And the F&M convention ain't going though?
No, it's today.
Happening.
It's
right
happening now.
Oh my God! So they don't boy put his name up in the hat to say he challenging, or did he live up to his word, whatever that means?
You don't know.
By homeboy, talking with Voldemort. We don't call his name anymore. A is B, B is B, something?
From what I've heard, from what I've heard so far, I don't think he's throwing his hat back in the ring.
Wow, because sometimes you got to go out east.
It's still
And
possible.
then you change your mind and you go back out west.
Listen, it's still possible. It's very much possible. But I guess we'll see that at the convention today.
Boy, after I say in that situation of Loretta Butler Turner, where she was appointed to the Small Business
Development Center.
Development Center. Yes, right. And then she was appeared before the press, and she was asked a question, because historically she had been F&M, and then eventually she went to become an independent after Voldemort hijacked the party. And she said that she aligns herself at the moment with this blueprint for a new day
change, right?
And change, and therefore she's aligned herself with that. Now you could take that to mean she has changed political allegiances. To be quite frank, I think her party did not stand with her, and her former party. And I don't blame her. I was there on the convention floor in 2017, I think. When was that convention? 2016, I think.
I think 2016.
2016. I just graduated from the College of the Bahamas, and I was working in a media house that I'm not going to talk about. And I was there when it happened on the floor, when Dwayne Sands didn't stand with her on stage. And I was blown away, like, how could this happen? Anyway, we have a caller. We have quite a number of callers, actually. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Might want to turn your radio down.
Yeah, it's off.
Oh, great.
Yes, I wanted to call your show from last week. I don't know what the topic is. I didn't get a chance to do it. But I wanted to tell you that it's refreshing to hear the perspective of a young man's perspective on the radio, because it appears to me that these folks who are certain age, they call it the majority rule generation. It's like they got a fraternity and don't want to let the young folks in. It's like they're already done expired their time that they supposed to be leading the country, and then they're trying to live up the next generation time. What that's going to do is cause a generation gap, and it's going to cause the foreigners to take their roles in the thing, and we might be second and third class citizens in our own country if we don't in a very short
Some argue that we already are.
Pretty much.
And it's so sad, and it's so sad for this to be going on in our country. And the thing about it is that we supposed to have a succession plan like Miles Monroe always used to preach. And these guys just want to keep on getting the gravy. They handful, they mouthful, they all they tools.
All for me, baby.
It's sad, man, and I it upsets me every day to see this thing going on. Where when they meet their demise, it's going to be a little void when it comes to the Bohemian young men and their strength and their views. And the furnace is just going to take place because they already have an underground society going on in our country. And it's very powerful. And it's very, very powerful. You go to places like Fish Fry, 80% of the people who are making our own Bahamian dishes are Haitians making it. It's sad.
I noticed
and
that
it's
actually.
an indictment on our country.
Haitians make the best conch salad. Haitians make some of the best conch salad. I don't know why, but they
It's an
do.
indictment on our country. It's so sad, and we have to. We as young men and as a people have to find someone who we believe in, who can actually have our cause and our interests at heart.
Understood.
We really have
losing
to.
recipes, Don. We losing recipes.
We are. That's how we believe it or not. Say not 100% our culture dies. But thank you very much, caller.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I was gonna say again. I'm not trying to take this from because I could go very sideways what I'm saying, but I'm saying it in the sense that the problem when you talk about the recipes is they really could be lost to a generation, because the way that your grandma used to cook, well, it depends on which. If she's from Andros, depends what part of Andros, because not all Andros women can cook. But I'm saying like the recipes that your family would have had, or the way we traditionally cook things, those things are being lost. Like guava duff, for instance. Did you know guava duff is made with a pillowcase in a pot? See the way that Tate looked at me just now? You knew that, right? Oh my God! I never learned how to bake guava duff. I learned that you boil guava duff. You have 2 pillowcases. You make your guava duff. You put the plate at the bottom of the pot so it don't stick. Anyway, we have another tech caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
A couple things I got to bring to your attention. In what year did we have a war against England, like America, to get the country for us, our country?
We did not.
Correct. So we didn't fight for it. It was given to us as an act of British Parliament, and I dare say they could meet again and take it back. It's called Crown Land. Why is it not called the Bahamian People's Land? Who wears a crown here? So you got to have the true discussion on our country. Let's move on because time's limited. Loretta, I spoke with her many times, and I really hoped that she would have gone home to claim her granddaddy Tings. She's Milo Butler granddaughter. And if she had and run in St. Anne's, she would have been a champion in St. Anne's for the PLP because it was a very close win for the FNM. But I want to leave you with this. We now see, and the Guardian reported it over the last week, that some very evil people were giving our things, and I say our things because we got to prove it's ours because it may be the Queen's things, to a foreign company for 150 years. You gave my beach away for 150 years. You really think I will ever vote for you for the next 150 years? Knowing what happened in Freeport, and this is ironic because I believe your guest has some tie to Freeport, but how did the 99-year lease work out in Freeport? So we did a 150-year lease and gave the beach away so you guys in Freeport wouldn't feel so bad about your 100-year lease not working. Isn't that sad? Watch this. I'm closing with this. You gentlemen will now have to pay maybe $3,000 US and soon to be 7,000 Bahamian for a trip to go to the U.S., a different country, to catch a boat, to come back through the Caribbean and then into the Atlantic Ocean, non-Caribbean Bahamas, ending up in New Providence, where you will be shuttled to your own beach where Bahamians are going to be kept away from because they want a seabed lease now. Did you see that in
Yes,
the
we
paper?
did. We absolutely did see the seabed lease,
So-
which we're going to talk about in a moment.
Yeah, so I can't even pull up by boat?
No die for you.
No. Figure it out.
You heating up the
Bahamians.
place.
We're going to be like the Native American Indians. Well, sometimes you need heat in the winter.
Yeah, well, you need heat in the winter. You're right.
Yeah, we're going to be put in the back of the bush on a reservation, just like the.
Man, we
Native
down on the
Americans.
reservation. Go over the hill. We can't buy nothing on that next side of that hill. Dying for me and you.
Well, I always say over the hill is Bay Street if you're starting out in Baintown.
Well, true.
See, it's perspective, right?
Everything is perspective. Will Bay Street become the new Baintown? Because they
How
ain't
come-
developing
how
that at
come-
all.
So they don't need a convention, and I would have loved to go on to that convention and say, how you sell my things for 150 years, bro. That's why Loretta had to bail. I suspect. I don't know, but I'm sure it's one of the reasons she would have considered, I can't be a part of some organization that's giving away the native Bahamian things. Come on, you gentlemen, do you subscribe to that?
No. We're going to talk about that right now, actually.
Have a good one, eh?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, well, glad that was a good segue, right? The whole situation with Loretta Butler. She wasn't in the FNM for quite some time, was she?
Well, she ran independent.
She ran independent. She lost.
She wasn't in the FNM for.
She didn't. What? She wasn't an endorsed member or when she ran. She was an endorsed candidate in the 2017 election.
I think she held a certain amount of respect in the party at that time, though. In the FNM party.
Well, yes. I mean, then when Voldemort hijacked the wipes, that was the end of that. And especially the performance. Like I am not surprised. Let me not say this. I'm not shocked by her decision essentially to align herself more with a New Day than what the last slogan was for the Voldemort them.
It's the people's time.
Yeah,
Oh no, before the newest one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's about your future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. That was it.
Whose future? Anyway. Maybe they were pointing at Royal Caribbean and saying, "Hey, bro, this one's for you."
Y'all gonna have people saying "Bizarre" come on here to be biased.
No, that's fine. But I know you guys also at Spectrum, like you absolutely keep a finger, at least on the pulse of what's happening in politics in this country, which has a direct correlation and effect on our lives. I always found it humorous when I saw you guys' your logo. Right, because it has the colors on it, right? Which people would interpret sometimes to represent, like, this is a spectrum of the parties that we have.
Right, and I mean, that's
RGB. Well, that's not really blue, but yeah, but it's technically.
Yeah, that's how that's how Spectrum was founded. Mm-hmm. It's saying that we have somebody from the FNM, we have somebody from DNA, we have somebody from the PLP.
We all need somebody from
the founding members.
You all need somebody from the what them people name is again?
COI.
Yes, the coalition.
They probably won't have anything of substance to say. To be honest, let's be honest.
They got new airports.
Listen. In all fairness, in line with our ideology, we're always open to
everybody
coming in.
Everybody coming
with
in.
us. So if anybody wants to give us an email, DM us on Twitter. You can do that. On Twitter, we'd be Spectrum Poll, Spectrum POL. If you guys want to send us a message, we'd love to talk to anybody politically aligned.
What do you guys make of that situation with Loretta Butler? Be frank.
Well, you have to, in politics, you have to make the best decision you can at the time. Politics is all about timing. Mm-hmm. So for Loretta Butler right now, her timing is with the PLP. So now she's joining the PLP. The PLP was a party that emphasized having women politicians in their party during their election. So if that's what she feels like she's aligned with right now, that's the best move for her at the time. And timing is extremely important in politics. So I think it was a very sensible move for her.
I actually, if we had the opportunity to vote specifically for our head of state, and I know in our context it is technically the Governor General, right? Mm-hmm. But in actuality, it's
the Queen.
Functionally, it's not. No, on paper, yes, mm-hmm. But in terms of who has all the executive authority of the state. For foreign and domestic affairs, it is the Prime Minister. He is constitutional Jesus. Mm-hmm. He or she. If we could vote for that person, the person that I would probably, out of everybody that's run in, let's say, the last 15 years, would probably be Loretta. I disagreed with her decision in the past when she appointed the good senator who wanted two meats, who's now protesting
against McDonald's across the street.
And y'all had that place sitting in our Senate. I'll never forgive any of you. And I won't forget.
We had him sitting, what?
In our Senate.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That put a mark in my opinion.
You could pass his little Jeep and you would see that he had a senator plate on his Jeep.
Yes. I felt very ashamed because he was like the antithesis of everything Loretta technically stood for, because this man was not on the same page.
That's how we originate bills and legislation, you understand. He was sitting in our Senate.
Yes.
We should be very ashamed of this.
Yes. I am.
Because you said we should be frank, so I want to be frank with the little bit of time we have left.
I think it's fair enough, yeah. I think it's fair enough to be frank about that. Wasn't he a DNA as well?
Yes.
At the time?
Yeah, well,
Yes, he was.
He's everything, man. He's like Spectrum. He's all over the place. Remember he was at FNM?
No.
Once upon a time. No, he's not in Spectrum, but he's on the Spectrum. In more ways, okay, yes, but like
if you're talking about Spectrum, just the word, not the actual,
not the organization.
Spectrum.
I mean, on the political spectrum, because he's been essentially part of every major party we've had.
You have to clarify that. You got to make sure you clarify that.
Yes, not a part of Spectrum politics, just the spectrum of political parties in the Bahamas. He's worn every shirt, had every card, and sing the praises of everybody before he said he was supposed to go on the beach. Then change your mind and. It's like it's a new day. Anyway, right? It's strange. But yeah, the situation with the red, like I was saying, I wasn't surprised by it. I think probably what this means moving forward, especially because FNM's having a convention today. I said this to Tate earlier. I fervently believe the FNM is in a worse position now than the PLP was in the immediate aftermath of losing the 2017 election in spectacular fashion. I think the FNM is in more trouble than the PLP was. I don't know if you would agree with that assessment.
You mean currently?
Yes.
Currently, yes. I think in terms of the party, the leadership race, as well. How they ran their campaign as well. How do you call an early election and then not campaign properly? You should have had that ready before you called an early election. So I wouldn't say I'm worried about them because y'all know where I lean, but they do have a lot of housekeeping to do. It's going to be a very long way forward for them. And there's a lot of work to be done for them, for sure. It doesn't matter who they have in this new leadership race, who they elect. They still have a long way forward, a very long way forward.
I don't think the next election is for the FNM to win. The next election is for the PLP to lose. And I say that because...
Don't see you could jinx that.
No, I'm not jinxing it. I'm telling you why I'm saying that. I'm going to tell you why I'm saying that. Because people text in just talking about the RCI situation, Royal Caribbean, or pilots. Because everybody read the report in the newspapers
They
this
did,
week.
but you have to remember that we do not have a long attention span when it comes to politics.
Oh, we do, but we don't. You're right. And here's why I say that, is nobody will remember, or most people won't remember or register that it would have been Voldemort who would have ensured that happened, right? People will remember the current administration when the time for the next election comes around, and let's say this development does take place and things do happen, and it's just as discriminatory as the rest of these establishments that we allow to be constructed within our space, in our country. People, it's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouth. They're not going to attribute that to Voldemort and crew. They're going to attribute that to this administration and crew. And we did the same thing with Bahamar.
And that's an important point to make. Because people are going to forget about that.
Yeah.
People are going to forget where it started and where it originated from. So when you say it's the PLPs to lose, I think that's a dangerous thing to say because we do really have a short attention span as to where these things originated from.
Why would you say it's a dangerous thing for me to say that?
Because it's not theirs to lose.
You don't think so?
Not in Bahamian politics, no. It's no one's election to lose. You see the COI beat the DNA in votes last election. It's no one's election.
Oh, okay. I understand why you're saying it. I'm saying that because you're the incumbent, right? You have, and I say this specifically with this time around because as we spoke about earlier, a lot of the legislative agenda that was unable to be completed in Christie's last tenure in office. A lot of legislative agenda, not even all of it, just parts of the legislative agenda that Voldemort and crew were also trying to do, which were incomplete. But they were very popular pieces of legislation Bahamians wanted to see. Mm-hmm. Those are easy victories. I think a disservice that the current administration could do to themselves is to let those things fall by the wayside, right? And I'm saying it's theirs to lose purely because if they do, I'm not going to say half, majority of the things that they promised, some of the things I'm not 100% certain the fiscal headroom will be there. But if they at least show that there is a move in that direction, like for the promise of a new hospital, we'll see. They got 5 years to figure that out, turn the fiscal situation around. We'll see. But I think if, and I say this, if they are unable to successfully execute their legislative agenda, if they don't get any groundwork on some of the infrastructure projects that they've promised, or finish some of the currently ongoing infrastructure projects, they're going to find themselves in a situation where all of those shortcomings will be placed on their shoulders as failures come the next election cycle, and I think it will affect the way that Bahamians feel, especially the situation with RCI. You might disagree.
No, like I said, I would have to agree, and I think that's why you should agree that we do have a short-term memory in terms of how we.
I don't, but we
how
do.
We view, how we view current parties that are in power.
Like people don't even remember that
current administration
Ingram
because
Ingram bring the Chinese.
You have to understand
that is true.
They blame the PLP and say the PLP always bringing the Chinese. It's like no, it's Ingram.
And I mean, if you have to look at precedent, you've seen that we've had.
Keep going. We can hear you.
I think we've had for the past 3 elections, I believe it is, us changing administrations.
Is it 3 or 4?
We've gone back and forth.
Was it 4? Is it 4 election cycles?
2002, 2007, 2012, 2017. So
then yeah, it has been 4.
Yeah,
so
a good time.
You can see we've gone back and forth over and over again. So I don't think we've actually taken into account what exactly each party is doing, what exactly each party was accountable for before they were actually in power. So we just end up going back and forth because when we go into election season,
we vote out, not in.
We just vote out.
We don't vote on. At least I can't. I have voted based on what I saw on a platform. Of course, the platform was never executed. I think I had 3 elections I could vote in, which would have been 2012, which I didn't vote in the 2012 election. And I'll never forget. I was in COB at the time. My lecturer asked me, all of us, if we had registered to vote. I said, yes, I registered to vote. How have I made up my mind I was going to vote for? I said, no. And she said, why? And I said, because I do not want to participate in the destruction of my country, because I do not think any of the people running in my constituency has the best interests of this country at heart. I'm going to say which constituency I was in. I was proven 100% correct about what I said because my member of parliament was embroiled in various scandals, accusations of impropriety, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They do give me that look. You're a free boy. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Quite a few. Anyway. But I say all that to say, like, because you said earlier when we were a bit off here, you was talking about never underestimate that a lot of the young voters ain't the same as older voters, right? They don't have that party loyalty exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. They don't. And I don't think there's enough of them voting right now for them to be as important as older voters right now.
Right.
But it will be in the future. And I think that's something parties have to take into account. And I think that's another problem parties have. They don't really take into account future votes. They're looking right now. Because, I mean, a lot of them on their way out.
Right. That's true.
So they're not thinking about what is our party going to look like 10, 15, 20 years from now. And that's, I mean, I wouldn't say it's dangerous, but I mean,
we don't do, but do you talking long 10, 15 years? That's, you know how long that is?
Thinking
5 years.
Thinking about future voters. If a party
wanted to
still be successful,
drop a new song.
Listen, if a party wanted to be successful, that's what they have to do, and we have to think long term. We do have to think long term.
I think it has to be because, like you talked about, how we shift back and forth. I would not say I think and I believe, based on the evidence we have of the Vision 2040 plan that was so eloquently laid out. When I graduated too, there was a whole speech made by some of the folks who participated in writing that entire document, which I read, about energy plans for the Bahamas, tourism, sustainable development, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera for the Bahamas. I think an issue that we face is this whole thing about stop, review, cancel, right? When government changes, some things die immediately. And so we'd have policies and infrastructure and institutions geared to move a certain agenda forward, get dismantled, and then it's reimagined in the image of the next party. And so you reset that process. You lose key personnel, which happened in the aftermath of the 2017 election.
Like Voldemort with Bamsey. That's the name y'all want to call
Oh,
it.
my God. Yeah, the Bamsey situation, man.
And then wasn't it Rise as well or Resolve, was it? I think it was.
Well, Resolve Bahamas would have been on the Christie administration
right.
with the great bank. Moving on. They don't. Listen, I gotten phone calls. There's a lot actually people don't know. When I first came on this show, I would say a lot of things. Nothing that wasn't in public. People don't like that. But I ain't care, boy. So like I was saying, yes, we had a lot of issues, especially with Bank of the Bahamas. I think we dealing was what $100 million, just over $100 million. Two rounds of funding. I think a good chunk of the money came out of national insurance.
I think that was it. Yeah.
And no one remembers that.
Yeah, right.
No one remembers that the process for that started in the administration before, and that a lot of the bad decisions and loans that were given out was like this is excessive, poor decision making influenced by politics. Anyway, not a conversation altogether. But I think the future for the FNM, I don't think this convention has much bearing on virtually anything. I think the future for them depends entirely on this administration's success. If they screw up, that's excellent for the FNM. If they're successful, I don't think the FNM is going to win the next government. They would probably gain some seats, but nowhere near a majority. I think the same thing could have happened to the Davis administration. Had Voldemort, actually no, I can't even imagine a universe with that. Because the decisions that he made just...
After the pandemic, it was already downhill. Honestly.
Bro, water and sewage, dog.
You couldn't... Y'all said I was being biased. Y'all say, look at this boy last name. You know, you can't trust this boy to be unbiased when he's talking about politics. But
People say that about you?
This man was being... With the last name, like, Bizarre? For sure, for sure.
Oh wow! See, that's why I like my last name, Sergeant. You don't even know where I'm from. Anyway, continue.
But
Freeport.
He was making his policies were ridiculous from the beginning of the pandemic up until election, and they've made political mistakes that were unforgivable. Back to back.
I wanted to crack a joke there, but I can't because then they'd be too rude. Not on you, but it was like several of the mistakes. Yeah, I don't know if people have forgotten the whole situation with the Minister of National Security. Saying the man didn't find a flight plan, and then he found a flight plan right in the plane. Saying also that there was no reports of looting happening in Abaco. And then it was so surreal watching that.
I mean, it was Marvin Dames. You could... I
don't call him
the Spandex minister. Let's say that
it's on public record. I don't understand.
No. No. It is not that I'm afraid of calling anybody names. I call people all the time. I'm just saying. I don't give these people no press. Anyway, when he said that, and then right when I scrolled down, it was like a montage of the videos of all these things happening. It was police officers even doing it, man. Strange times. We have some texts. Quite a few texts. To be more frank, Bahamians have good memory. Political parties have selective memory. So we need to keep reminding the Bahamian people, what do you think, Captain Logic? Keep singing the same story. Someone says, oh my gosh. It's the people's time, but it's not about Toby Smith future. Graham. Well, he wants me to pass his contact information on to you guys, so I'll do that. He says the FNM is finished 150 years, next election for Spectrum.
Okay, that's a call.
Someone says, morning, gents. Tell the caller whom complained about Haitians that the Chinese is the issue. They're the ones taking over. Tell him, catch yourself, please. Ask Tate if the Chinese buying up free. They own Freeport from the 90s, bro. Buying up Freeport also. I wonder what other islands and things they buying out. Yet the Haitians always the problem. We stupid badly.
Listen, when we talk about foreign interests, the Chinese have always had a large financial interest in the country. Mm-hmm. I did not like his wording with the Haitians because we move into xenophobia when we talk about things like that.
Gotta be careful with that.
I think that was very dangerous, and I didn't like that wording at all.
Someone says, good morning. You guys need to correct Graham. The lease was not for 150 years. I think 25 years with the option to lease for an additional 25 years, so on and so forth, in 25-year increments to speak. Texter, it actually is for 150 years, but it has to be renewed every 25 years. Yeah. And I can assure you that if this happens the way that this supposedly was laid out in the report, it will get a renewal every 25 years.
Yeah, because that was a ridiculous price. Mm-hmm. It's insane price. I don't even know how they came to that.
But how can a man fix him out to say he won't be anyway? Oh, I had such high hopes, man,
For him?
For who?
For him?
No, I didn't have high hopes for him.
Oh.
I had high hopes for the legislative agenda. I only wanted 3 of those things to happen, you know. I wanted term limits.
Term limits on the prime minister.
I wanted them to address the situation with citizenship with legislation.
Mm-hmm.
And the third and last thing is I got very excited for the Public Procurements Act, right? And that coming into force and meaning and being something. Those 3 things were like, not all I wanted, but those are the things on my wish list of things I wanted to see. I see, well, the public procurement went somewhere, but then we'll see what happens, right? I think we have the Integrity Commission as well. We have several things that.
Well, that was, I think that wasn't a bill, but I don't
Yes.
think it's no longer tabled since, the House is prorogued, right? So then they had to introduce a whole lot of new things, and so.
And these were low hanging fruit, man. I wanted
Yeah.
to see some cannabis
And
legislation.
I
and-
think the PLP have a lot of low hanging fruit, and it's so simple for them to enact these legislation. If they do, they have a good chance of winning the next election, in my opinion, if they don't screw up anything else.
I don't have any scandals.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true. That's true.
Has there ever been an administration in the last 30 years that didn't have a scandal?
Has there ever been an administration with no scandals? It's politics.
I can't even say scandal. Let me
you
be
don't
more
have
specific.
administrations without scandals.
Nobody
There's always gonna be a scandal.
not accuses a thiefing. How's like stealing and like giving out contracts without cabinet approval? Because remember
Didn't Canoe have a? Oh, I shouldn't say that. But
No,
didn't
go ahead. I was
didn't
gonna
Canoe
say-
have a similar situation like that. Whereas
I don't think it was black and white.
Yeah.
I could see why it would look shady. I don't think it was as shady as people or some made it out to be. Maybe I'm wrong, right? But this is the thing I have a problem with. Is remember they spent in the campaign in 2017 accusing the Christie administration of doing this all the time, not seeking cabinet approval, giving Curry favor contracts, giving contracts to persons like Leslie Miller. And this whole thing with him going to court with the government, which we eventually lost. We the people lost the case. And things went the way that they did. Then they
how
do
much
this-
did we have to pay, by the way?
It was a couple $1 million.
And I'm glad you said we the people lost the case because we the people had to pay for it. That's taxpayer money.
Right.
So, I'm being real. My view on politics in this country isn't about party. My view is like, I always say this: the Bahamas has nothing. Politics has nothing to do with representing people. Politics has to do with the treasury, who gives out the contracts, and who does a little bit of wheeling and dealing. That's it.
Well, why?
You point the boards.
I'd have to, I mean,
you can't even disagree.
If we're
with
talking
that.
about the history of Bahamian politics, yes, I would have to agree because that's objectively what it has been. That's what Bahamian politics has been established on. It's always been
That's heartbreaking.
A late capitalist sort of how do we make the most profit for a certain group of people, and we've had a lot of expats that have perpetuated that ideology as well.
I like your political correctness.
So we have to
continue.
That's just objectively what our history has been.
Pirates expelled, trade restored.
So we have to come to terms with that is what our history has been politically, our socioeconomic and sociopolitical history has been, and we have to see how we move beyond that, because we can't just say, okay, let's elect so and so and think that's going to change. We have to implement social programs and things like that to actually get Bahamians that are in the middle class and the poverty line and below the poverty line to where they need to be as well. And you won't see a huge social change until we begin to do that. You can elect whoever you want, but until we actually try to address those actual issues, we won't see anything different. You'll just have those same politicians coming in, getting their little bit of coin, and then leaving.
I like that you brought up the topic of the economy, right? The middle class, etc. There was a report by NPR which came out, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, that spoke about the whole, as they call them, boomer articles, right? All those articles saying millennials have ruined this industry, millennials have destroyed this. And they dug into a lot of the claims that was made. They did some statistical analysis on the wages, earnings, and potential. Some linear regression thing they did. Anyway, whatever, math and calculus. And what they discovered is was pretty obvious, but they proved it with statistical data, that millennials in the United States are the poorest group, the most educated, and the least paid in recent modern American history. And as a result of that, consumer trends are expected to continue on a downward turn. Of course, people can spend more money, inflation is still going to happen, but it's not going to be the massive amounts of growth potential as you would have seen with boomers and Gen X. And as a result of that, the wealth disparity for minorities is going to get worse. And you're going to see the wealth, income and wealth inequality expand, not contract at all. So government's intervention into that is good luck with that. I think a good thing they could do is probably get rid of a lot of those student loans so people could actually start building wealth. Now, that's in the United States. In the Bahamas,
do we even have data? We don't have any data.
It's a challenge.
When you think about boomers versus millennials, you have to think about the entire world coming out of a war. When you had the boomers coming out, there was less of an inflation because they wanted more spending to happen in the economy. Right now, what we have with millennials and Gen Zs and Gen Zs?
Yeah, Gen Zs are working now.
Yeah. What you have with them is we want inflated prices for them to spend more. When we had the boomers, when they were coming out of the war, they wanted them to spend even more, so they made inflation a bit less. And you have to understand that that's economics. And people always think that economics is this objective thing, but it really is a really subjective thing.
I just say it's a patchwork of guesses.
It really is, and people think it's a solid
Experiments.
thing, but it's not. It really isn't.
Like Japan and window guidance.
So that's why you have millennials and Gen Zs that are struggling so much now because they didn't have the same economic advantages as the older generations. Even though they
Agreed.
Even though they like to say that we're the most privileged and the most entitled. I think it's the exact
I
opposite.
dare say we're not.
Well, I'd say it's the exact opposite. I think they're more entitled.
You know? Are you saying? I was saying now they say we are.
Yeah,
I don't agree.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could say that maybe in essence of the way of how information can travel. It's much faster now, which is true. Right. We do have access to. The world is more globalization is further along its road for us. But when it comes to actual economic attainment and achievement.
Right.
No.
Because I think an argument you see a lot is that we have so much access to so much information, so we should be fine. You could have all the information you want. You can be as educated as you want.
And still be broke.
If you don't have the capital, what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And if you don't have the capital where so much boomers already bought up so much so much property, so much businesses, what are you supposed to do? You still have to compete in the market. So if you don't have the capital, how are you supposed to compete? Isn't that what capitalism is supposed to be? So the capitalists should be saying that it should be supporting millennials and Gen Zs more.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not even happening in the Bahamas. And the problem we're seeing in the Bahamas
it's
is
going to be old people saying that.
we have a triple-headed problem here, especially when we talk about property ownership. Like, for instance, what you're saying happening, I don't know if you've paid attention to this whole thing happening in Texas, where a lot of companies from Silicon Valley that were based in California are moving to Texas for tax reasons, right? And they tired of dealing with California's ever-increasing rates of taxation, not dealing with a lot of problems, whatever. Don't care about the politics. And as a result of it, persons flocking in from California with those California salaries into Texas, where property is cheaper. They earn a lot of money in Texas, mind you, but they make hell of a lot of money in those Silicon Valley jobs. And when they go to Texas, the property is so cheap, so they buy up a lot of property and inflate the prices. The Bahamas has been doing that for 30 years. Right? So you have a dual economy we've had here for quite some time, which is not my original thought. That's the work of Olivia Sanders, those at the University of the Bahamas. We have a dual economy. So as a result of that, we have a real estate market for immigrants. I don't like the word expats because
call it what it is.
Yeah, it's immigrants.
Call it what it is.
Persons who come here to work from different countries, who make substantially more than the average Bahamian. And then you have one for Bahamians. And there's a clear line of demarcation somewhere around $2,500 a month, where the areas these properties are located are predominantly in the northern or shoreline areas of New Providence or in the Family Islands. Same thing. And as a result of it, of this dualistic way that we operate in the real estate market, a lot of Bahamians who aren't so close to the beach and can't see the ocean have also been raising their prices. So what you then find yourself in a situation is, you go to Freeport, for instance, you can find a condo for $40,000 for a 2-bedroom condo that you could buy and pay $90 a month homeowners association fee. That same thing in Nassau. Even if you was to get a 1-bedroom studio box.
I've seen him. Because I'm in the
For
market now.
$900.
I'm
For
in the market.
$900, and you still gotta pay light.
Yeah.
Some of them will give you free internet, but you gotta share what they churn.
It's criminal. They have some sheds they have some 1-bedroom sheds they put people in, and they really say you have to pay $1,000 a month for that.
Bam! And here's the scary part about it. Inflation is making the situation even worse.
Yeah.
Your wages are not keeping pace with these things. So what you're finding now.
And have we spoken about that today before I came?
Inflation?
No, minimum wage.
No,
Minimum
not really,
wage
no.
increases. We're still at $5.25, correct?
I know. I don't think.
How can you have a $5.25 minimum wage and have a closet for $900 a month?
Here's
it's
the
not
thing.
livable for.
It isn't livable. Here's the thing. I think I would hope governments have to address this because it's a serious problem in Europe. I have some friends in Europe, and when he told me how much he's paying for rent, right? Because he makes close to 6 figures, but taxes eat up most of that. And then he showed me how much he was paying for rent to live in downtown in the Netherlands. I'm not going to say the city because some people might know him. Anyway. I was like, bro, this is absolutely obscene. And he showed me the prices of places in his area. And it's like, this isn't people, your normal thought process is like, yeah, we'll stop living in expensive areas. And I just start looking at the map of all the properties. And it's like, bro, the whole place going in the same direction. And it's like, it ain't like, oh, get into the place now. And then you ain't going to pay that much money. It's like, no, the rent goes up regardless. And why I brought this up is to say what governments are now starting to discuss, especially in Sweden, Norway, is government intervention in the situations with rent. Is that either government subsidize or they have price controls on it. And certain areas are zoned at certain prices to keep housing affordable for people because you cannot. I don't know why we ever followed this idea. You cannot have a policy on an island where you just have urban expansion. And like when you need to build new neighborhoods, let's eat up more land. You have very finite resources of land. So I think the situation in the province is going to get to the point where if you don't have property, before we go on the water, of course, let's say by 2040, the prices are going to get so ridiculous that you will never own property. Because when my mother's generation, your yearly salary was still more than the cost to buy property in most of New Providence. For our generation, property in the ghetto is 3 to 4 times your yearly salary, excluding interest.
Careful with that wording.
Why you said it?
The ghetto?
The inner city. Even underdeveloped areas, like if you wanted to go in parts of Cowpen Road where there's absolutely no infrastructure, and there are parts of Cowpen Road where that exists, you're still paying $70,000, $80,000 for a blank lot, which you still got to pay to get government to run things too. So I'm just saying, prices are not going down.
I agree.
They're going up. And government has done absolutely nothing to address the situation. And even though they criticize Voldemort those, for the housing plan that they were doing.
Prospect Ridge?
Yes. Well, and they did something on Carmichael Road, too.
Yeah, Carmichael, yeah.
The same thing happened when the Christie administration also did a housing program where they was building low-cost housing. None of those things were low cost. So, I'm just saying, housing is probably the biggest time bomb for Bahamians and living in New Providence that no one has ever addressed. I don't expect that to ever be touched in this administration. You all may disagree, but I'm just saying. That is a not even a hot potato. That is a nuclear bomb that will eventually blow up.
Looking at the way that Joe Beth has been talking about the housing, the Prospect Ridge development, and how she's been criticizing it, I get the impression that it will be touched, but I think at this point it's going to be entirely different from what we may have expected under the Minnis administration, because it came into question, where did they get these figures from, basing on how much the land would cost, and then we also found out that that there was only a sketch of it. So, looking at the language that Joe Beth has been using and the publicity of it, I think it's going to come back.
Maybe going to redo the process?
Redo the process, probably. But that's probably going to happen probably around maybe next year or 2023. But I think it's going to happen. But it's going to look entirely different from what was expected under the Minnis administration, in my opinion.
Well, you may see some Lucayan homes in the area. Well, it's better than having a mix that is hot.
That's true. That's true.
Someone texted in and said, did you guys mean $525 per month minimum wage? No. No, $5.25
an hour.
Yeah, an hour. And then when you eat national insurance out of that, it's actually like, how much is it? Like, I think it's like 8 something a month, and then national insurance brings it in.
That's what it is. It's criminal.
I made that once upon a time, so I know how it feels. Oh wow, we actually have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Are they still there? Oh man. Okay, caller. We are unable to hear. Okay, sorry. We're having some difficulty on our end. I don't know what happened. Spectrum probably broke up something. I'm kidding. But yeah, back to what you were saying about the housing. Well, the minimum wage thing that you also brought up. What is your guys' views on that? You think that's going to be a political softball for them to raise the minimum wage, and then people?
It should be.
Oh, I believe it should be.
Will it
raised.
be? I couldn't tell you. I can tell you for sure. I think it should be a softball. It's been $5.25 since
2014.
14, yeah, around that range, yeah.
I remember when it went up, I was making $5.50 at the tourism establishment I was working at. And when it went up, I was like, so nothing happened to me. So no, they increased my pay by 25 cents an hour. So I was making $5.75. It's balling.
Above the minimum wage.
Oh, bro, it was a struggle. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was paying my own school fee. That was a struggle. You cannot survive in this country on minimum wage.
You can't. You can.
You have to. No, you say we're going to be very frank. I think it's one of the reasons why transactional sex, prostitution, crime, all these social ills that we had happen so frequently because people are scrapping for resources.
The crime rate for sure is interlinked with that. For sure. If you have people that are making enough money, they aren't going to commit crimes. You have the Merton strain theory that provides that as long as you have a social structure where you say people should be living this certain type of way, and if they aren't, you consider them vagabonds, they're going to commit crimes to try to live that certain type of way. So crime is always going to prevail once you have people that are underpaid in a high-costing society.
I don't disagree at all. I was just thinking about I think this is going to sound terrible. The way to really go about doing it is not to rob with a gun. You're supposed to rob with office. That's what you do. Anyway, moving on.
I can't.
I said I can do it either, but that's been happening. You get in office and you start robbing. You don't hold people.
I can't condone that statement. This is Denzel Bazard saying that he cannot condone that statement.
That is fine. That is what's happening. All right, someone says, okay, whoa.
Fiery text?
Sure. Someone says, I have a suggestion that I want your opinion on. Now, y'all just hear me out. The democratic election of parties thing hasn't worked for us. What if we did some tests and chose an exceptional child and give him the best education? We've done this in history before. Best education, experience, etc., and gear him towards managing a country efficiently and effectively.
We're not gonna endorse eugenics.
Oh my god! So this person says we can call him Fuha King Bradley. Lol. We can call him something else. Just my suggestion. Just a little humor for you. Oh Lord! It says he will be given 20 years of uninterrupted. He's been living. Anyway, says if I remember correctly, the Christie administration had an actual low-cost home. I think they're a $15,000 wish each. I thought they were like closer to $200,000 when all expenses were paid. They had a developer who was building the land. I don't know if the home was $15,000. Maybe I don't recall that happening. I remember each time they did it. I think Dignity Gardens was one of them as well. A lot of housing projects they did were north of $180,000. Now, I could be wrong. I do know also Voldemort and his crew was selling $15,000 lots to persons off of Carmichael, which I thought was great. I wish I got in on that, right? Anyway, someone says that text was sent by a real Haitian. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm going to read it. That was text by a real Haitian. We are under attack from numerous countries. Everyone is coming here trying to benefit from our country, including Europeans, Chinese, Haitians, Dominicans. You have to be a real dummy not to realize that. Well, I don't agree with you, Texter. And I'll say this: I'm not going to call you anything, right? Because this is your opinion. I don't agree with your opinion at all. But we also go to other people's country and take advantage of or exploit the economic opportunities in their country. I don't think we should look at it as in people are necessarily exploiting us, because the objective is that you exploit their labor for money, at least because they say exchange, robbery, right? I just say it. Don't look at it that way. Now, in terms of legal immigration, that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, we're almost. One of those texts I can't read. I can't read it though. I just can't read it. So I'm sorry, texter. Please rephrase what you texted in.
What's the subject about?
It's about immigration. Just rephrase what you're saying.
I always hate when we have this topic because
that is like the easiest political win for a party. When things going bad and people don't like you right now, start doing immigration roundups.
You mean when Minister
that's universal though.
Around the world, yes,
That's
including in the United States.
If you want to have political power as a theocratic or autocratic
Don't
party,
give them ideas.
all you have to do is
Come on, say theocratic.
Well, we already have one. The King the government, don't we?
That was with
they haven't
Jeremiah
seized power
Duncan.
yet,
No,
though.
Kevin King.
But all you have to
Oh
do
my
is,
god! Well, I'm listening. Sorry.
No, but all you have to do is label a party as not a party, but a certain group of people as the enemies, and then you go from there. That's
what Minnis did in
That's
the
the
first
framework.
3 years of his term. Talking about, I think was it December 31st, 2018. All he's just got to go. Didn't he do that? Out of nowhere.
He needed to stop. I know. I was actually shocked he didn't play Roots. That's all he had to do left was play Roots and tell us they coming for us, and that was it. Like, but I don't think that type of campaigning doesn't work anymore, in my opinion. I think at the time it may have, because there was a lot of fear surrounding Chinese involvement, and it just that's like we spoke about earlier, right? Some people have short memory, they don't remember. Again, I don't stick up for any political party. I call anybody out, and I cheer anybody on when they're doing something we agree with on the show. The Chinese involvement in the Bahamas was not started by the PLP.
It started on the
It
Ingram.
was Hubert Alexander Ingram that changed the Bahamas' recognition in 1996/1997 from Taiwan to the People's Republic of China. The discussions and talks about Bahama predates that last Christie administration. All right, a lot of these things that start from previous administrations. So the whole notion, one of the previous callers said that we need to stop looking at the past. No, you have to analyze the past. Previous policy decisions directly correlate and put governments on this thing called path dependency, where it's hard to deviate from those things, like the government's decision to buy diesel generators in the midst of an energy crisis. And then we see the cost of diesel nowadays, right? Locks another government in the decisions that they can make. It matters. Just throwing it out there. I have to ask, because you keep saying that people are saying that you're biased. What would you be biased towards that people are accusing you of?
I wouldn't be able to give an example, honestly. I feel like I've been.
But people think you're biased towards the.
Oh no! It's unfounded claims of bias.
The way that he says it's like it's unproven.
No, I've always been fairly open about criticizing all the parties.
So you have no political bias then?
I personally don't think so.
Oh, because how you were saying it, I was just like, is he trying to say you're founded the Progressive Party?
No.
I
One
was
of the
just
first things I said when I came on Aaron Green's show the other day on Wednesday is that I do support the PLP party, but I am no way a sycophant of the party. You can be a supporter of a party without being a.
I think you absolutely can be. I have to ask, right? If you had to debate, you know what? Did you see the debates we had at the University of the Bahamas?
The youth debates? Or
Yes. Well, not the youth ones.
We Spectrum co-hosted the youth debates.
No, it wasn't a youth debates. It was a candidate debates.
Okay.
I think the first one we had.
The first one which was a youth debate, right?
That was. You're right. It was a youth debate. Sorry, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, we co-hosted the Spectrum Politics.
Oh yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
I was gonna ask when you say that you're a fan of because I will never forget the guy. I can't remember his name. What's his last name? Smith.
Smith, I think it was.
He was an excellent debater, but the part where he just lost me is where he just kept saying Brave Davis' name. And I was just like, Brave Davis, Brave Davis, Brave Davis. And I was just like, oh, man, you had me. I was in your corner, but just doing that I don't know. We actually had some people from the Progressive Young Liberals on the show a few times. And, oh, Lord. Times have changed, right? I presume.
Yeah, we've with the Progressive Young Liberals, we've made huge strides to try to talk to the young voters and see how we can change how the party addresses them. We had multiple meetings about it before we published our manifesto earlier on. I was one of the people who was invited to speak to the PYL and PLP leadership for us to discuss and try to draft that up. So I think we've been doing a lot of things to move forward to actually address the issues of young Bahamian voters.
Sure.
I know.
I have no criticism.
You seem. I know. You seem a bit
skeptical.
Very skeptical of it. But I mean, I do understand why, because I mean, it is Bahamian politics.
Well,
we really have been trying to make.
My perspective on it, I think, is a lot different. Is because I kind of checked out of the Bahamas already, but. So I'm not looking at it in the sense that, I can't say this because they're not going to victimize me. No, I look at it more in the sense that I understand the youth arm of the party, right? Especially the FNM as well. It's the part that I'm very wary of is, like, for instance, I can't remember the name of the lady who, when Christie ran in 2017, and there was a challenge for leadership in the party, who went before the meeting and was just like, sit small to your name call, blah, 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 blah. Like with sycophants, right? Or persons who just rabid supporters of a party. I think those sorts of things work to the detriment of a party. And it really, when I see those kinds of things, because I'm not affiliated, when I see those kinds of things, I really think to myself, good Lord, it's a cult. Especially seeing it with some of the FNMs who just was rabidly supporting Menace. I was really saying to myself, boy, whatever it is y'all is putting them substances... Y'all putting in your bodies, y'all need to give me some of that because I know it. Anyway, we have some sex. I'm not biased. I'm not judging you guys. I just know that the youth arm doesn't always have as much impact as I would like it to with actual party politics and policies. I don't know if you guys have input.
I agree as well.
Yeah, it's, and I'm saying that because it worked to the detriment. I think in 2017,
there's a lot more work to be done for the connection from the youth arm to the senior arm to be.
Do you guys have say in terms of when persons run for positions within the party? Like, do you guys have a vote? Okay, I just asking because I saw something similar as well within the FNM. Anyway, I guess on the convention floor.
And you mean like how the torchbearers endorse?
Yes.
Michael Pintar.
Yes.
That don't even mean anything either. You know. That's just a
formality.
Yeah, ceremonial, if anything.
Fair enough. Someone says it's the person who talked about saying that we were under attack. They said you said you disagree with my text. I would love to speak with you, if only for 5 minutes off air, whenever you have a chance. Thanks. Okay, sure. I'm open to exchanging ideas. Someone says it says for real though, y'all stay right there. Y'all ready to do a bunch of fool and none of us getting our monthly $100,000 check. So he's right. He's right. Y'all turned down Lincoln Bain when he promised y'all $100,000.
I couldn't vote, so not me. I had no choice.
Yeah. Y'all turned down water slides. Y'all turned down new hospital and airport in every island. It's y'all fault. And y'all can get what y'all deserve. Right at time. I'm being very facetious and sarcastic.
No comment.
Obviously, I do actually believe the Coalition of Independence is. I think they are.
I think they're dangerous as well.
They're dangerous to society.
I was going to say I think they're off their rocker.
Yeah.
And I say that not because they have bad ideas. Some of the ideas are horrible. Some of the ideas I like the sound of them. We do need infrastructure. Money for these things. Right? And you're going to put yourself more in debt. And you're building more white elephants, just like the stadium. We can't even afford to maintain that. So infrastructure is easy to build, but you need to have things that are sustainable. Anyway, I didn't agree to coalition independence. I actually voted in the last election, and for those of you that are probably going to hate me, anyway, I ain't going to say what I vote.
Who you vote for?
Who did you vote for? Let's do a round robin.
I couldn't vote, so.
Okay.
Who did I vote for?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you could take a wild guess.
Who's your candidate? Which candidate did you vote for?
I live in Killarney, so.
Oh, you voted for Minnis?
Oh, y'all are talking.
No, I did what I wanted to do the last election cycle. I did. I spoiled my ballot. I didn't have any confidence in any of the candidates in my constituency. But I knew I had to exercise that right to vote.
Right.
Because there are people that did march for us to be able to do that. And I think even if you do that, I think it's better to exercise it than not.
What constituency are you in, Don?
Huh?
The people would like to know. I think we were getting a text saying somebody wanted to know which constituency you were in.
I'll tell off you.
Okay.
I'll tell off you.
Okay.
And I'll explain to you why I didn't. The previous cycle, anyway, whatever.
In terms of third parties, though, I think
there are no viable third parties.
There aren't any viable third parties right now. But in terms of third parties as a idea for the Bahamian politics, and how we move for Bahamian politics, I think it's very important for democracy in Bahamian politics because the two parties do have to be challenged. Now, our problem is we just have to find a sensible third party.
Mm-hmm. It will never work so long as you have first past the post. It's always going to be a duopoly with our current system. Our country isn't as divided as some places the United Kingdom, even though it says it's united. You're not going to get a bunch of Tories in Scotland, right? You're going to get the Scottish parties going to be getting those seats in Scotland, and same thing with Wales and Northern Ireland. So that's why the parliament is shaped the way it's kind of shaped, and they form coalitions and stuff. You're not going to get that in our kind of system. I think if you move in the direction of a representative democracy, it would be better, but also it's dangerous, right? Because then you get persons like the Coalition of Independence, right? And I say that they're dangerous predominantly because some of the ideas will be in the House if you have a representative democracy, right? If they get 10% of the vote, they have some seats. So you got to make up your mind what you want. I think we should change the system. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We got to talk about this again. But that requires constitutional change. And the Constitution was given us by Jesus Christ himself.
And it's the perfect document.
That's a perfect document and should never change. I don't know if Spectrum Politics agrees.
That's another thing we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Constitutions and how we view them as this more than now.
Have you read the preamble?
I have.
That's all you need to read. Don't read anything else.
No, but and you see that in the U.S. as well. And I think I always talk about how we adopt certain political ideologies from our neighbors up north, and they see their constitution as this holier than thou and perfect thing. But it was written by a bunch of racist white dudes in the 18th century.
Of course.
So
we was 3/5 human.
We have to understand that these legal documents aren't perfect. And that's why we
and
have
they need to be updated.
That's
they
why
need
we
to
have
be
amendments.
changed.
And that's why we've always had amendments. We've always had amendments in law. We've always had amendments in legislation. So you can't just say, well, this is constitutional and that's the only reason why we're still doing this. That has to be challenged over and over
When
again.
you say natural law, that's what God give us. We're unfortunately out of time. We got to talk about this again another week. Hopefully we could bring... I have a lawyer I want to bring on who deals with the Constitution. We'll see how I can work that out. Anyway, I'll hit you up on that tape.
Okay.
We're unfortunately out of time. It's been an absolutely awesome show. Thank you for popping in from Spectrum Politics. We should have a panel discussion, I think, sometime in the future because some interesting things are on the horizon. So I've been told from some whispers in the air. I think it'd be very interesting to discuss those things. But like we always say, so many hands build a school, so many hearts build a home. But it takes many engaged Bahamians like me and you to build a better Bahamas. Be good, Bahamas.
That's my header. Your wave is living in the moment, My wave is living for the I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, baby. Say I know what I'm doing. Talk about a revolution. There it is. Wait.